12-year-old kid would be very, very difficult to do.
But it would be more information.
It would be more information,
Right.
yes.
I mean, it can't hurt to have that additional information. I mean, let me rephrase that. You're giving us somewhat of an opinion about what may have caused behavioral problems in 5th grade. It certainly would be helpful to know more about his psychological makeup now in order to make that assessment. Wouldn't you agree?
No.
So if you were to do a psychological assessment today, and it would demonstrate that he had antisocial personality, that would not be a factor that you would look at in saying, well, is this acting out conduct disorder or is it something else? Wouldn't be helpful at all?
Well, the dilemma is the reality of the language delay, language processing problems, and the learning disability remain. I mean, they were there. There's unequivocal evidence of that in 5th grade, and there was alluded to that even in 3rd grade.
You said in 3rd grade?
Yeah.
The earliest thing you had was 5th grade.
No. I said I have K through 3. I don't have 4th grade. And there was this 3rd grade teacher who began to comment on his academic issues and the behavioral acting out that kind of went along with that. The problem is if you are not doing well academically, if you do not have competent language skills, life becomes very, very difficult. And it begins to shape your self-concept, it begins to shape your way of interacting with other people. And so how someone looks at 21, 22 is determined by a lot of factors beyond what was going on with them at age 12, but certainly there's a forward influence of any learning disability that was there. So yeah, to go back and try to tease out what was what would be very, very difficult.
But isn't that exactly what you've done just by looking at these records, to essentially tease out what is what?
I've teased out what is what about him at that point in time based upon these records.
But your testimony, so I'm clear, is that having more thoroughly looked at him today and in the years since wouldn't help in more accurately teasing out those issues. Is that your testimony?
I can say that the records that I have do not reveal any evidence of a conduct disorder prior to the acting out beginning in 7th grade.
And how extensive are the records before 7th grade?
They are typical educational records with teacher observations and teacher comments.
All right, let's talk a little bit about those records. There's a referral for a psychoeducational evaluation. The last date I see on it is September 25th, 1998. Okay. And it contains the following description. Very poor and or failing grades and overall lack of concern on students' part. Explosive temper with peers and faculty. Multiple referrals. Now, is it your testimony that all children or the majority of children with this level of learning disability show that level of acting out?
No, in fact, I had said previously I was surprised by the abrupt change in the intensity of his acting out behavior during his 2nd grade year.
7th grade year, you mean?
Yeah, 7th.
7th, okay. You said 2nd. Yeah. I just misspoke. But again, not having a bigger picture of his psychological makeup, it's difficult to know what that's from.
Right, because when I look at the social histories and the school system's reviews of secondary factors that might be affecting him, there's almost no data.
There's also a social history, which appears to be, date of interview is 11/10 of 98, so a couple months later.
Right.
It makes the following reference. This would be, for counsel and your benefit, the last paragraph, the first page, and the top paragraph, the next, it says, mother sees two distinct sides of Bessman. When she helps him with his schoolwork, and when he has her undivided attention, he displays appropriate behavior. However, when his siblings or peers join them, Bessman loses control of his emotions, hits them, and explodes. This has been a long-standing behavior pattern. Besides the 2-month residential placement, Bessman received weekly counseling at Lakeside Alternatives. Unfortunately, Bessman's disruptive behavior has increased in frequency and intensity. Ms. Ruffin stated his brothers are afraid of him. Does that not appear to be something more than simply frustration at having a learning disability?
Oh, I said that. Yeah, absolutely.
And is it still your position, though, that having done a more thorough, comprehensive interview and psychological evaluation of Mr. Okafor as he exists today would not help in understanding that?
No, because I have no idea what else was going on in his life space at that point in time.
Why didn't you do a interview with the defendant and an assessment of his present level of disability?
I'm a child and adolescent psychologist, not an adult psychologist.
Well, I thought I heard counsel ask you if sometimes you treated, 20 and 30-year-olds.
I do some, but again, it's focused on individuals who are having trouble with school or work because of a learning issue.
So you do a totally different type of analysis when it's for a death penalty case.
I was asked to review academic records and offer my opinion about very narrowly defined topics.
Okay, so
Right.
Sorry.
Yeah, so.
You limited your evaluation to the topics that counsel asked you to do, correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. There's also another evaluation which is titled Orange County, Florida Public School Psychoeducational Evaluation Report. The one date it says evaluation began October 20th, 1998. It contains the following for counsel's benefit. This is the first paragraph. Observations indicate that Bessman has difficulty controlling his temper, refuses to stop and listen to adults, and is very profane in his language. Despite various interventions, such as changing his seat, giving him a timeout, and allowing him to sit with his head on the desk if he's having a bad day, minimal progress has been observed. That's their observation of
Correct.
what his issue was.
Yes.
Okay. It also makes reference to a desk throwing incident, correct?
Yes.
Now, there is a reference on page 4 of that same document to something done by his SLD teacher. Do you have that?
Where on the page?
This would be the second to the last paragraph.
Yes.
Okay. It says, and what is an SLD teacher?
Specific learning disability teacher.
So
that
he
would
had
have, that would have been the individual responsible for addressing his learning disability.
By the way, did you ever speak to any of the educators who were involved with Bessman Okafor?
No.
You seem to be telling us that there was some deficiency in their help for him. Do you think it's really fair to make that accusation without ever having even spoken to them?
If they were professional and did good documentation, then the documentation should reflect what they did.
And you don't think that that opinion could be aided in any way by actually talking to the educators who had to deal with Mr. Okafor?
Not this far out into the future, no.
Okay. The quote, and did you find the spot I was looking at?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It says the SLD, the specific learning disability teacher, F-index score. What is an F-index?
That's a score that indicates whether or not you should treat the score with any concern because it might not be valid.
Okay. It said, after I read it, explain what this means. The SLD teacher's F-index score was in the extreme caution range due to never responses in the following items. Shows interest in others, ideas, says please and thank you, completes homework, politely asks for help. The mother's F-index score was also in the extreme caution range due to almost always responses to the following items: acts without thinking, seems out of touch with reality, hits other children, and lies. Now, this is an index given, a questionnaire given to the teacher and to the mother to fill out.
Yes.
To describe his function.
His behavior. Yes.
His behavior. Mm-hmm. And these are observations that they made of his behavior.
Yes.
Can you give us any more help in understanding, well, could those typically be found in a child with conduct disorder?
Well, the never saying please and thank you, completing homework, and politely asking for help, that was true of every one of my kids when they were 13. Okay?
Well, if you don't mind, if we could move from the charming personal anecdote to what you actually see in a child with conduct disorder, because my question clearly was resulting with that, particularly with the idea of how the defendant lies and hits other children.
Well, the dilemma is the F-index score was elevated, so what that says is you have to look at those scores with a great deal of caution because they may have been exaggerated. So that's the whole purpose of an F-index score.
So the possibility is that both the teacher and the mother were exaggerating Mr. Okafor's difficulties. That's what that means, right?
It means you cannot really interpret those scores with any confidence. Correct.
Well, I'm not so much talking about the scores, I'm talking about the observations.
Well, the scores are based upon the observations and the severity with which each of these behaviors is rated by the respondent.
Well, now there is another document here. It says draft on top. It's Orange County Schools Social Work Attendance Services Social History, and it says draft, and it indicates a reason for referral. It says Bessman has had several suspensions for disruptive classroom behavior. You familiar with that? This was again, November of '98 interview.
November 10th, 1998?
Yes.
Yes, I have that.
So would that not seem to add additional documentation to the comments that I just read?
Well, this was an interview of his mother. Yes?
Let's see. Yes, but from the records, it is clear that he did have several suspensions at that time, did he not?
Correct.
Okay, so, I mean, the mother's telling the truth.
About
right?
the suspensions, yes.
Okay. There's an educational planning conference form, appears to be dated December 1st, 1998, that says the school team met to discuss suspensions and reevaluation results. Bessman has been suspended a total of 16 days on 3 referrals, and that's in 1998, 7th grade again, right?
Correct.
There's let's see. Looking at a Orange County Public Schools determination of least restrictive environment, educational setting form that is dated, it says IEP 5/15/98. You have that?
I have it here somewhere.
Okay. Does it not say behavior is out of control?
Let's see. 5/15/98.
5/15/98, and then in parentheses it says 12/1/98R.
Is this the Educational Planning Conference?
It is titled Orange County Public Schools I can just take you up.
Yeah.
If I may approach the witness.
Yes, sir. That might be better.
Yes, I don't think I have that one. I'll look through here and see real quick. Yep, sorry, I do.
Okay. And it reflects an observation, quote unquote, his behavior is out of control. And this would be the academic year before. This would be 6th grade because it's May of 98. The others were fall of 98 for 7th grade. This is 6th grade. Or, well, no, it's just Lockhart Middle School. Well, yeah, that would be 6th grade. Yeah. Right?
And May of 98, let's see, that would have been 6th grade, correct.
So even in the 6th grade, records reflect behavior out of control.
At the end of the year, yes.
I want to talk about one more thing, and this is actually quite a bit later. The Discipline IEP team meeting, Evans High School, May of 2003.
May 23rd?
This would be May 23rd, yes.
Yes, I have it.
And there's a handwritten note. Well, the present offense says repeated misconduct more serious involved in a fight that led to major disruption. And then there's a handwritten note says student does not believe that he should have consequences. That is reflected in the report. Is that not correct?
Correct.
Wouldn't you agree, sir, that those observations should raise a substantial red flag that his behavioral issues are the result of something far more serious than simply frustration over his learning disability?
By the time he was in late middle school and high school, his behavioral concerns were much more serious. Absolutely. Right.
No further questions.
Redirect.
So clear, Doctor, you were hired to determine whether Bessman Okafor had a learning disability, right?
Right.
And whether it was treated.
Right.
And you determined that he did have a learning disability,
Yes.
and it was one he was born with,
Yes.
and it wasn't treated.
Correct.
No one asked you to determine whether his problems later in school were because he'd been sexually abused.
Correct.
That is not within your field, is it?
Correct.
No one asked you whether his problems were because his parents or his mother and her various husbands were constantly beating on each other.
Objection assumes fact not in evidence.
Sustained.
No one asked you whether his behavior problems were as a result of his mother's two significant others beat her on a regular basis.
Objection assumes a fact not in evidence. Your Honor, these are not questions. These are arguments.
They are. You're leading. Let's get to redirect examination. This is your witness, direct examination.
Were you retained to determine whether behavioral problems were caused by him being abused by his mother?
I was not.
Objection assumes a fact not in evidence.
You can answer the question. He has.
You said he could answer that question?
He did.
Okay.
Yeah, he answered the question already.
That's all I have, Your Honor.
May I specify one thing very quickly? One question.
Okay, we're going to stop this, keep going back and forth. Go ahead.
Sorry.
What is it?
Bring up
Go ahead.
The the behavioral problems in 6th and 7th grade, those preceded his sexual assault, didn't they?
Your Honor, you objected to my question, and therefore his cross-examination.
Let me see counsel at the bench, please. The objection is sustained.
No further questions.
All right. Sir, we're going to let you go,
Thank you.
okay? Let me let you pack. I don't think they gave you any exhibits at all, so.
No.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I want to talk to you about a couple things. We are excusing you. You may not have caught this little nuance, but the clock is facing the court. It doesn't face the attorneys or most of the deputies, but I can see them turning and looking at the clock all the time, just like you're doing, but I can see it from here. We thank you for the additional 20 minutes that you gave us. We appreciate that, and I know the witness does because we're able to get him out of here. We're going to go ahead and send you home tonight. I'm going to give you the usual admonishments, but I want to talk about a couple other things. Don't discuss the case amongst yourselves. Don't talk with anybody about it. Don't watch the TV, read the news, look on the internet about any of the issues, parties, attorneys, or witnesses. It's a weekend. There's a tendency to do that. I understand if you want to pick up the newspaper, that's fine. If you see anything at all in this case, turn it, go to another page, read sports or something like that. We have a little storm coming up. Erica, the one thing that's absolutely certain from the weathermen is that it's going to hit here and it's not going to hit here. We don't know. There's always a remote possibility that we would close the courthouse. And what I'm going to have the deputy do is give you this slip of paper, which simply says, please call this number and press 6 to hear a recorded message. You all know how to do that. And I believe the courthouse is going to be open. I heard, but that always changes as the storm is just raining. But I would, Sunday night, I would call and check and make sure. That way it'll tell you if for some reason the courthouse is closed, you won't have to try and brave it or worry about it. Just follow the instructions on that. If it tells you not to come, that would be the next one. If there is no message for you, likely to be here at 9 o'clock on Monday morning. I told you I'd try and give you some insight. We are starting the 4th week of this trial on Monday. I told you 3 to 4 weeks. It looks like we're going to be within that. I can't tell you exactly, but I think we should be able to get this case to the jury, to you, during the first part of the week. We have more testimony Monday. Whether it's going to be